In Dare to Lead, Brené Brown shifts the common perception of vulnerability, urging us to see it not as a flaw, but as an essential, powerful tool for leadership. Traditionally, vulnerability is viewed as a weakness, a place where we are exposed to failure, rejection, or disappointment. Yet, Brown boldly reframes it as the ultimate source of strength for leaders. She highlights that in order to lead with courage and authenticity, we must be willing to embrace our vulnerabilities. This means opening ourselves up to uncertainty, emotional exposure, and taking risks in both our personal and professional lives. Vulnerability creates an environment where trust can flourish. As a leader, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, when you share your fears, uncertainties, and failures, it humanizes you. This fosters deeper connections with others and invites them to show up as their true selves. The act of being vulnerable isn't about being weak or helpless, it's about showing courage in the face of imperfection and embracing the messy, complicated parts of life. It's about acknowledging that you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay, it's an opportunity to invite collaboration and foster innovation. Brown explains that leaders who embrace vulnerability do more than just form stronger relationships with their teams, they create a space for creativity and innovation to thrive. By being open about their limitations and imperfections, leaders set the tone for others to do the same, creating an atmosphere where ideas are not stifled by fear of judgment. When vulnerability is modeled at the top, teams feel more comfortable taking risks and experimenting, which are essential components of growth and success. Moreover, vulnerability is key to building resilience. When leaders allow themselves to be vulnerable, they also learn how to navigate and recover from failures or setbacks. This willingness to face discomfort head-on helps them grow stronger and more adaptive. Vulnerability teaches leaders that their worth is not tied to success alone, but to their capacity to face adversity with courage, openness, and a willingness to learn. By acknowledging and embracing their vulnerabilities, leaders also pave the way for others to be more authentic and courageous in their own actions. Ultimately, Brown suggests that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, change, and meaningful connection. Without it, leadership becomes a rigid, disconnected process driven by fear rather than purpose. Embracing vulnerability, on the other hand, unlocks a leader's capacity to lead with empathy, humility, and vision. It allows for the creation of cultures where individuals feel safe to express themselves, take risks, and show up as their authentic selves, leading to a collective sense of trust, creativity, and success. This expanded version delves deeper into the key elements of vulnerability in leadership, focusing on how it fosters trust, connection, and innovation. Let me know if you'd like any further adjustments or additions. In Dare to Lead, Brené Brown emphasizes that courage is not simply a trait some leaders are born with but something that can be cultivated and actively practiced. Courageous leadership is rooted in the ability to face discomfort, tackle difficult challenges, and make decisions that are aligned with core values, even when those decisions may be unpopular or met with resistance. Brown challenges the conventional idea of leadership as something that demands always having the answers, and instead, redefines it as a practice of standing firm in one's values, even in the face of adversity. True courageous leadership, according to Brown, is about embracing vulnerability, not as a weakness but as a fundamental strength that enables leaders to step into the unknown and remain resolute in the pursuit of what matters most. It involves recognizing that the road to growth, change, and progress is often paved with risk, uncertainty, and the potential for failure. Leaders who are courageous don't avoid those realities, they face them head-on, learning to lead through discomfort rather than trying to avoid it. This is what allows them to move forward with integrity and conviction. Brown emphasizes that courage is not a one-time act but a practice. Each day, leaders must intentionally choose courage over comfort. This might look like having difficult conversations, making a bold decision that others might resist, or standing up for what's right even when the consequences feel daunting. Leaders must be able to sit with the discomfort that often accompanies doing what is right, not just what is easy. This also means embracing moments of vulnerability, such as admitting when they don't know something or when they've made a mistake. In these moments, courageous leaders do not shy away from their humanity. Instead, they invite others into the process, acknowledging their imperfections and inviting learning and growth as a team. Courageous leadership also involves having a deep sense of clarity about one's values and principles. Brown highlights the importance of leaders defining what they stand for, what they will and will not tolerate, and using those values as a compass for decision-making. Leaders who are clear about their values are more likely to make courageous decisions, as they have a solid foundation to return to when the challenges of leadership become overwhelming. By staying aligned with their core beliefs, leaders can make tough decisions without compromising their integrity, which helps them maintain respect and trust with their teams. Another aspect of courageous leadership is the ability to give others the permission and support to act courageously as well. Brown argues that the best leaders don't just demonstrate courage on their own, they empower those around them to do the same. This involves fostering a culture where team members feel safe to take risks, share ideas, and step into challenges without fear of judgment or failure. Courage is contagious, and when a leader models it, others are more likely to follow suit, creating a ripple effect of courage that permeates the entire organization. At its heart, courageous leadership is about being willing to do what's necessary, even when it's difficult. It's about having the bravery to make decisions that are in the best interest of the team, the organization, and the greater good, without compromising on ethics or values. Brown's message is clear: leadership isn't about avoiding discomfort or striving for perfection. It's about showing up with vulnerability, taking risks, and embracing the uncertainty that comes with stepping into your power as a leader. In Dare to Lead, Brené Brown identifies trust as the cornerstone of effective leadership and outlines its critical role in creating strong, high-performing teams. Without trust, leadership falls apart, teams become fragmented, communication breaks down, and individuals struggle to collaborate or perform at their best. Brown emphasizes that building and maintaining trust is not an incidental part of leadership, it is the very foundation upon which everything else rests. Without trust, a leader's ability to influence, motivate, and inspire is severely limited. To help leaders understand the components of trust, Brown introduces the BRAVING model, an acronym that breaks trust down into 7 distinct elements: boundaries, reliability, accountability, the vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. Each of these elements contributes to creating a culture where people feel safe and valued, which is essential for leaders who aim to foster loyalty, innovation, and growth within their teams. Boundaries. Trust begins with setting clear, respectful boundaries. Leaders who understand and respect their own boundaries, and those of others, help create a space where people feel safe. Without boundaries, there is a risk of burnout, resentment, and miscommunication. When leaders are clear about their boundaries, they set an example for others to do the same, ensuring a healthy, respectful work environment. Reliability. Trust is built on consistency. Leaders must be reliable in their actions and decisions, demonstrating that they can be counted on to follow through on their commitments. Reliability doesn't mean perfection, it means showing up and doing what you said you would do, even when it's hard or inconvenient. Leaders who consistently meet expectations build confidence and credibility over time. Accountability. Accountability is crucial in fostering trust. When leaders hold themselves accountable and take responsibility for their actions and decisions, they set a standard for others. Leaders who are unwilling to own their mistakes or dodge responsibility create an atmosphere of mistrust. On the other hand, leaders who admit their shortcomings, learn from their errors, and take steps to correct them encourage a culture of accountability throughout the team. The vault. Confidentiality is a key aspect of trust. The vault refers to the understanding that personal and sensitive information shared in confidence is kept safe. Leaders must demonstrate that they can be trusted to hold others' secrets, whether they are about work-related issues or personal matters. If a leader betrays this trust, it's incredibly difficult to rebuild, as trust is easily broken when confidentiality is violated. Integrity. A leader's integrity is a measure of their honesty, ethics, and consistency in doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. Integrity involves aligning actions with values and being transparent in decision-making. Leaders who act with integrity inspire others to do the same, creating a culture where trust flourishes because everyone knows that decisions are made based on shared values, not hidden agendas or self-interest. Non-judgment. Trust thrives in an environment where people feel they can be themselves without fear of being judged. Leaders who are non-judgmental create a safe space for vulnerability, allowing their team members to express ideas, make mistakes, and grow without fear of ridicule or punishment. Leaders who are quick to judge or criticize stifle creativity and discourage open communication, ultimately eroding trust. Generosity. Generosity in trust means assuming the best of others and offering the benefit of the doubt. When leaders are generous with trust, they extend it freely to others, believing in their team members' intentions and abilities. This creates a culture of mutual respect and positive reinforcement, where individuals feel empowered to take risks, share ideas, and contribute fully to the team's success. Brown underscores that trust is not built overnight, it is the result of consistent, intentional actions over time. While a single act of betrayal can destroy trust, it takes repeated acts of reliability, accountability, and integrity to rebuild it once it has been damaged. Leaders who are intentional about fostering trust create environments where people feel safe, valued, and motivated to contribute their best work. Ultimately, trust is not something that can be demanded, it must be earned, and it must be nurtured continuously. Leaders who prioritize trust build relationships that not only enhance productivity but also create a sense of belonging and purpose. When trust is at the heart of leadership, teams can face challenges with confidence, collaborate effectively, and innovate without fear of failure or rejection. In Dare to Lead, Brené Brown introduces the concept of rumbling with vulnerability as a powerful leadership practice. At its core, rumbling refers to the act of engaging in honest, open, and sometimes uncomfortable conversations. For leaders, rumbling with vulnerability means leaning into difficult discussions, confronting tough emotions, and being willing to stay present and open even when things get messy or uncertain. It's a commitment to honesty, transparency, and emotional exposure, even when it feels risky or uncomfortable. Brown argues that vulnerability is the key to any meaningful dialogue, and without it, conversations can become shallow, transactional, or avoidant. Leaders who rumble with vulnerability do not shy away from tough topics. Instead, they actively engage in these conversations with courage, empathy, and a willingness to be changed by the process. This willingness to be vulnerable in conversations, whether it's addressing conflict, giving feedback, or discussing mistakes, creates an environment where trust and connection can flourish. Rumbling is not about being reckless with emotions or airing every thought that comes to mind. Rather, it's about showing up authentically and engaging in conversations that may not have an easy solution but are necessary for growth and resolution. Brown explains that rumbling with vulnerability is about being real with one another and staying engaged even when things get difficult. It requires courage to stay in the discomfort, knowing that on the other side of the tension lies deeper understanding, stronger relationships, and more resilient teams. For leaders, rumbling is about creating a space where difficult conversations are not avoided but are actively encouraged. This could mean addressing unspoken tensions within a team, discussing mistakes openly, or having hard conversations about performance and expectations. Leaders who rumble with vulnerability also model the importance of listening, really listening to others' concerns, ideas, and feedback without becoming defensive or dismissive. They show that it's okay to not have all the answers, and that asking tough questions and exploring differing viewpoints are essential to making informed, thoughtful decisions. Importantly, Brown highlights that rumbling with vulnerability is not about winning an argument or being the loudest voice in the room. Instead, it's about engaging in a process of mutual respect and understanding. Leaders who rumble with vulnerability must also be willing to be influenced by others' perspectives and to make room for diverse voices. This means that vulnerability isn't just about exposing one's own feelings or experiences, but also about creating a space where others feel safe to do the same. The goal is not to have the final word, but to allow for honest, unfiltered dialogue that leads to better decisions and deeper trust within the team. Brown also warns against the temptation to armor up during tough conversations. It's easy for leaders to hide behind defensiveness, authority, or perfectionism when faced with vulnerability. But these armors only prevent connection and growth. True leadership requires taking off the armor, letting down the guard, and being open to both the discomfort and the learning that come from rumbling. When leaders model vulnerability in this way, they create a culture where people are more willing to engage in tough conversations themselves, leading to greater collaboration and innovation. Rumbling with vulnerability is also about creating an environment where failure is not stigmatized, but viewed as an opportunity for growth. Leaders who rumble with vulnerability create a culture where mistakes are owned and learned from, not hidden or blamed. This openness allows for experimentation and risk-taking, as individuals feel empowered to explore new ideas and solutions without fear of harsh judgment. Ultimately, rumbling with vulnerability is a practice that strengthens relationships, enhances trust, and drives meaningful change within teams and organizations. By committing to open, honest dialogue, even when it's difficult, leaders foster a culture of authenticity, empathy, and courage. It's about showing up fully, staying present in uncomfortable moments, and being willing to lean into the messiness of human connection, knowing that it is through these moments of vulnerability that true leadership and growth occur. In Dare to Lead, Brené Brown delves into the profound impact that shame can have on leadership and personal growth. She introduces the concept of shame resilience as a vital skill for leaders, emphasizing that overcoming shame is essential to developing effective leadership and fostering an environment where individuals can thrive without fear of judgment or failure. Shame, according to Brown, is a universal emotion that everyone experiences, but its impact can be either destructive or transformative, depending on how we respond to it. Shame is a deeply painful feeling of being fundamentally unworthy or inadequate. Brown points out that shame thrives in silence, secrecy, and judgment, often leading individuals to hide their vulnerabilities or suppress their emotions. In the context of leadership, shame can undermine confidence, stifle creativity, and inhibit decision-making, as leaders fear being exposed as imperfect or incapable. For many leaders, the drive to appear competent, flawless, and in control can fuel feelings of shame when they inevitably encounter moments of failure, uncertainty, or vulnerability. However, Brown offers a powerful antidote to shame: shame resilience. This resilience is not about eliminating shame from our lives, which is impossible, but about developing the tools to confront it and use it as an opportunity for growth and connection. Leaders who cultivate shame resilience learn to recognize and name the emotion when it arises, which helps to diminish its power. By naming shame, leaders can externalize it, rather than internalizing the belief that they are inherently flawed or unworthy. This is a crucial first step in taking control of how shame impacts their actions and decisions. Shame resilience also involves developing a greater sense of self-compassion and empathy. Brown encourages leaders to understand that shame is a shared experience. No one is immune to it. By recognizing that others are also struggling with feelings of shame, leaders can show more empathy, support, and connection to their teams. Instead of reacting with defensiveness or isolation when faced with shame, resilient leaders reach out for support, whether through trusted colleagues, mentors, or friends. They recognize that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness, and that sharing their struggles and imperfections can lead to deeper connections and greater trust within their teams. Another key aspect of shame resilience is the practice of reframing the narrative around failure and mistakes. Brown points out that many leaders internalize failure as a reflection of their worth, leading to self-doubt and shame. To build shame resilience, leaders must shift this mindset by viewing mistakes and setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth, rather than as evidence of incompetence or failure. This shift in perspective allows leaders to approach challenges with a growth mindset, where the focus is on development rather than perfection. A critical element of building shame resilience is creating a culture of empathy, where individuals feel safe to share their vulnerabilities without fear of judgment. Leaders who model shame resilience are more likely to create environments where their teams feel empowered to be authentic, take risks, and make mistakes without the threat of shame or retribution. When leaders demonstrate the courage to confront their own shame and be open about their imperfections, they set the stage for others to do the same. This openness fosters a sense of belonging and psychological safety, which is essential for creativity, innovation, and collaboration. In her research, Brown also emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries to protect oneself from the harmful effects of shame. Resilient leaders learn to recognize when shame is being triggered and take steps to protect themselves from its impact. This might include stepping back from a situation, seeking support from others, or practicing self-compassion. Leaders who fail to build shame resilience may find themselves caught in cycles of self-criticism, defensiveness, or withdrawal, which ultimately hampers their effectiveness and ability to lead with authenticity. Ultimately, shame resilience empowers leaders to show up as their authentic selves, flaws and all, while continuing to lead with integrity, empathy, and courage. By building resilience to shame, leaders become more adaptable, more compassionate, and more capable of navigating the complexities and challenges of leadership. They create environments where people feel safe to be themselves, experiment, and fail forward, cultivating a culture of openness, trust, and growth.